Hi, I'm Kelly, and this video is about traveling while breastfeeding and how to return home with your milk. I unfortunately had a funeral to go to when my daughter was 2 months old, and I scoured YouTube and blogs to try to find resources to help make it easier for me. And I wasn't able to find much, so I decided to put this together about what to pack at home, how to freeze and store your breast milk while you're away, and how to return home with it. From that initial trip and a few since, I've put these tips together. There are a couple of things I think are important to consider when watching this. One, TSA guidelines change, and this is all based on my own personal experience. Two, this video pertains to travel within the US. If you're traveling internationally, you would have to make additional considerations. I did have an established milk supply prior to traveling. I already had experience pumping at work. And lastly, in this video, we're gonna be showing a Spectra S1, but could be extrapolated to other pumps. To start, I'll discuss a few things I considered when making my plan. When I researched how expensive milk was to ship home via UPS, USPS, or Milk Stork, I found that was cost prohibitive for me. Breast milk is considered medically necessary, so you can travel through TSA with liquid milk, but I was concerned about keeping it at a consistent temperature if delays were to arise. At all the destinations I went to, I needed a sink and a freezer to help me store and freeze the breast milk, and also clean all my pump parts. Friends and family and even hotels and Airbnbs were extremely accommodating and very helpful, so don't be afraid to ask for what you need. I did elect to use dry ice rather than frozen ice packs because I thought that this would keep the milk frozen longer if I did experience delays while traveling. Some additional trips when flying. I always preferred direct flights if it was an option over connections because there's just more variables when you're doing connecting flights. I always pumped or nursed just prior to leaving, so I wasn't traveling through TSA with liquid milk. I tried to pump every 2 to 5 hours during travel, including even overnight, to maintain supply. And pumping on the plane is doable if you have for me, I used a cover, but I definitely preferred pumping after security, during layovers, or on arrival. In the description box below, you'll find a packing list of all the things I discussed in this video. I hope you find that helpful. And if you've gotten this far, I hope you can use these tips and tricks and have fun traveling.
Okay, so now we are going to start with what to pack in your pumping bag while traveling. First, I have my pumping bag here. My pump, its charger, which I always bring in case there's a delay with the flight, or I lose my checked bag. This is a cooler that I use mostly on the way home to check the milk with, but I do bring it as a carry-on because you're allowed one extra carry-on and as a medical item. I bring this that I made on Google Sheets to label the box with when I'm coming home. This cooler is a little bit small, but you can consider getting a cooler, contact local pharmacy, local hospital to see if they have something set up like this, which is typically how medications are shipped. Otherwise, you can buy them on Amazon, but they are quite pricey. They can be, $50+. This one is a little bit small, probably can hold about 30 ounces of milk, which is about what I pump in a day, so would maybe want a larger one depending on the length of your travel. Typically, when I'm carrying it on, I also carry it on with a small cooler with an ice pack inside. This is the only thing I take through TSA, totally frozen, so that they don't give me too much hassle about bringing liquids through. But that's the setup that I bring. I typically cut a little hole here and attach a strap to it so that I can hang it on my shoulder, like a little hole here with part of a wire hanger to clip a little strap to so that I can just hold it over my shoulder. But I take this with me on the plane as well as my pumping bag. Over here, I have my pumping cover, which I prefer over using the pods or nursing rooms because typically they are, in my experience, they've been occupied or closed. So I just prefer to use a pumping cover just in the airport, but it's everyone's preference. I always do lubricate my flanges, so I bring some extra coconut oil, some hand sanitizer, quick wipes for cleaning. However, I rarely use these, and I'll explain how to avoid that. I also bring extra bags and Sharpies. A burping cloth is helpful for any spills, and then you may want to bring some bra nursing pads in case you are still leaking, depending on where you are in lactation. And then I'll move on to the flange sets that I bring. I bring enough for my entire travel, including, if there are some delays. So Typically, what I was told at the hospital, that breast milk can sit out for 4 hours. So I use one of these without refrigeration for 4 hours. I take it out of my clean, light colored bag. I use it, then I place it in a dark, dirty bag. I use it for 4 hours. And then thereafter, I would move on to the second clean set that I brought and a separate dirty bag that I brought in my bag. And I always bring lids because I typically will, if I'm not using the bags, especially for like the last leg of travel, I just put a lid on here and then place it into my cooler with my ice pack here. So that's the setup for in my pumping bag and what I bring through TSA. So this part of the video will describe what I bring in my either carry-on bag or checked bag. First, we'll start with cleaning. So when I arrive to my destination, I use this bin to put all my dirty phalanges and bottles in. And I bring some of the Dapple Baby soap that I like. I typically always bring a new bottle brush, and then I just replace the old one at home with the new one when I come back, to just replace those frequently. And then you can get a drying rack, a portable collapsible drying rack. I typically just use a dish towel because that's easier for me, but whatever suits you. I always pack any medications, prenatal vitamins that you're taking on your trip. Of course, you'll be wearing a pumping bra because you'll need to pump in the airport, but also bringing an extra pumping bra, I always do that. I bring lots of bags for all the milk that you will be pumping, and then Ziploc bags to put that milk in to fit in the cooler. If you're checking your bag, you can bring some scissors. If you're just carrying it on, I typically just bring the tape for the box to pack up the milk for the way home. Depending on how often you do sanitizing of your bottles, this Medela Quick Clean bag is really small and can be used in a microwave to sanitize the bottles. I always bring extra wet dry bags to use depending on if you have access to laundry or not. And then this area here is kind of my emergency, oh gosh, my pump stopped working area. So I typically bring some extra of these valves. I think these are called valves, and then duckbill valves as well. Obviously you probably don't need 6, but that's just what the package is. And then I do bring a hand pump. It just gives me some peace of mind that if my pump really started malfunctioning, that I could still maintain my supply, albeit, you know, taking a long time and all of that, but I do bring that. So this would be what I would pack in my carry-on or checked luggage to have all the supplies you'll need for packing up the milk, cleaning the bottles while you're there during your travel.
Okay, so here I am with my box that I brought with me as a carry-on item. I've added the labels here with human breast milk packed in dry ice. I purchased the dry ice from King Soopers here, so some grocery stores do carry dry ice, depending on the state. I always look for a dry ice supplier either before my trip or while I'm on my trip. There was a place called Robert's Oxygen in Richmond, Virginia, which was very helpful to me when I was traveling there. But basically, I picked this dry ice up from King Soopers here in Colorado. The total weight they told me it was is 5.8 pounds. TSA currently, as of 2023, has a 5-pound limit, so I'm going to use about half of that. And I have indicated here that I have 3 pounds of dry ice so that they're aware of that and hopefully don't give you any trouble when you try to check this box. At my friend's house, the things that I really need to be able to do this is a cookie sheet or flat surface. I've used a pizza box before. This is how I freeze the milk flat in the freezer. These are all the milks that I previously frozen, and then these are from this morning. So I'm going to add them into the previously frozen milk kind of in between them because this one is not very frozen yet, in hopes that that'll keep it frozen, and then also the dry ice. So other than the freezer that you would need at your destination, you would need some kind of flat surface to freeze the milk on. So now I'm going to start packing the box after I've placed these milks in my bag, put some dry ice on the bottom, covered it up with paper, and I'll show you that in just a second. So I crunched the dry ice up some, but not a ton because I don't want it to melt super quickly. So I cover that up, and ideally you would be wearing gloves. I just forgot them on this trip, and I will add them to the bag. I laid the milk down. I'm going to add another piece of paper. Some people do suggest to make holes in it so that you can, the dry ice can more easily penetrate. So I'm going to make a couple holes with my finger in this bottom paper, add more dry ice, cover the rest of the dead space, and then add the lid.
Okay, so I've added a couple pieces of tape just to help the lid stay closed. Now I'm gonna go ahead and tape my box closed, and I'll be ready to take this through TSA. You do want to arrive to the airport a little bit early because since it's in a box, sometimes I have had to sign a form that it's not an appropriate packaging. So I'll be doing that now, and I'll have my breast milk on my way home. I'll catch it at the carousel with my suitcase.
As shown in the video, I pack the breast milk into gallon ziplocks, and then I place those in the cooler with paper and dry ice surrounding it. Regular frozen ice will not work for this application as it will melt and get everything soggy. The box I checked, I pick up at the checked bag carousel at the airport. When arriving home, I put the milk straight into my deep freeze. Every time I've gotten home, the milk is rock hard, almost too cold to touch, and I've traveled for up to 12 hours using this method. A few last tips and tidbits before you travel. Be sure and double check your list. One time I forgot the lids to the bottles that I brought, and it was frustrating, but I had the milk bags that I could use instead. I haven't had any major issues with TSA, but they always confirm that my ice pack is completely frozen that I bring through for the milk I pump in the airport and during my travel, and often want to look at the breast pump. I remember the first time they took out my breast pump from my bag, I got anxious about it getting dirty. If it helps you, bring some disinfectant wipes. Lastly, another reminder is to double check and make sure you have a freezer at the destination you are staying at. And look for dry ice suppliers ahead of time if you can. Good luck traveling.